It's MJ from Alta Love. How are you? So, today I want to talk about healing and the healing loop, you could call it, and sort of merging into self healing. And it's not about demonizing or putting down any kind of healing modalities because in my experience and through my perspective, often when we're transitioning from disempowered enslavement, carrying a whole bunch of emotional density and being programmed to believe that everything is separate, including our bodies. So our bodies are a separate condition from our inner self, right? So that's the old paradigm, the 3D matrix illusion reality that dictates we need external medicines or support to carry us through. And ultimately we do, because we are in a coexistent reality with you know from a perception of separation with all that is. However, when we start to merge into what people call the 4, the 5D reality, or a self empowered reality or self responsible reality, where you recognize you are the creator, you often go on this sort of journey of experiencing or almost rejecting modern medicine or believing that it's corrupted or whatever, and there may be elements of that we need to shine light into, certainly when we give our power over to. So we feel we cannot be well unless, and that is something where we want to integrate our self-responsibility and shine light into density and ultimately transform our relationship to the emotional body so that we can listen more accurately to the body, to the energy of the body itself, and learn to uphold it and take care of it in whatever way it's asking, which might mean in different times in our lives taking pharmaceuticals or taking herbal medicines or fasting or changing our diets, and all of it is relevant to our inner point of attraction. And yet, the reason I want to talk about the healing loop, and this is regarding specifically, I would say, when we break free and start to awaken to our more cosmic connection and our more divine creatorship role, that we often break free from modern medicine and pharmaceuticals and merge into this realm of energy healing, things like Reiki, things like just spiritual healing, whatever. Sometimes even massages and holistic naturopathy or homeopathy and things like that. And what I'm aware of is that often we can break free and then we end up in another loop. So like when we're brought up in kind of the 3D matrix, and we were always going back to the doctor every time we become unwell in our bodies, and we seek a medicine to help mask the underlying root cause of the illness. So we break free from that and we head in a little bit deeper, and we start to look at the emotional connection between our illnesses, and we want help and assistance with that, or we're doing that and we're still blocked to a certain degree. And this is where people will say soul contracts, karmic relationships, and past life regression therapies, that all starts to come into it, because often what we need to traverse is a broader energetic clearing to assist us in enlivening and enlightening ourselves so that we can come into alignment with self-healing. So it's really important to recognize the inner nudgings of when we're finished with a therapy, when we've finished our engagement with, say, a coach or a healer or a therapist in any regard, that we start to merge into sovereignty, soul sovereignty, self-responsibility, so that you're yoking your intuitive connection to infuse your cellular body with health and with well-being. And whenever there is more profound healing to occur, that will happen with our reflected circumstances. So, yeah, we might feel sensation in the body, which is asking us to go to a doctor and, get a drug, it might be. or it might be our intuition guiding us to do yoga practice or any kind of energy work. Of course, meditation. Meditation is a profound healing technique ultimately because it is what yokes the inner connection, right? So the inner connection is what births our external reality from beyond even the time where we are sort of conceived into physical form. That essence is really kind of bringing through the various challenges that we're going to be facing in our lives. So depending on what our purpose is ultimately the challenges that we have to face, ride out, and I guess do that steady climb into self-sovereignty and self-creation in order to manifest the highest life that you're here to create. And that's where non-judgment is super duper important. So here is not about judging healing modalities, even such as judging the medical system or pharmaceuticals, because all of it is relevant and has its place in our own expansion. However, when we are really working on that expansion from within, and we can feel it and we can sense it, we can feel that we're getting better when the body does fall ill, how we embrace and love the body's outworking of illness again has to do with a shift of perspective, being able to hold space in love and light for whatever is, even when it doesn't feel great in the body. If the body's outworking density, no different than sitting through an emotional storm or having a profound emotional upheaval, the physical body similarly has to work itself out. Hence things like colds and flus. When we can start to empower the belief that the body is always well, if the body isn't well, you have to understand that the body has to outwork itself. The body has to clear density if you're always rising. So you could say that the body is always going to be ebbing and flowing, and as long as we're not pushing and striving to maintain it when it wants to have a downward cycle, if we can hold space, let the body rest, let the body clear, let the body just be still, oftentimes we can speed up or accelerate the healing process. Again, it comes from that inner yoking connection and holding space even when the body's not well to let it be well, in essence. So let your consciousness infuse that which you perceive as not well with wellness, right? And self-healing is a continual working, right? Like all of this well-being and manifesting the life of our dreams and manifesting a radiant form, all of it has to do with working from within self, choosing to love the self that you are and all of the conditions, and then perpetuate a higher expansion by hooking into inspirational thought, hooking into thought that feels good, feels cool, feels fun, feels exciting, feels exhilarating, and really fills you up with a sense of well-being. And that is ultimately what carries us through those downturns in expecting greater love, greater light, and greater harmony in our lives, because we are truly healed in our essential energy forms. So it really has to do with how we direct our consciousness through these vessels that dictates the wellness stream. Here again, I'll loop back into non-judgment. Why non-judgment is so crucially important, because well-being doesn't necessarily look like how we think it does. So just because some person is deemed a well-being expert and they have a list of things to do, it doesn't necessarily mean that your point of attraction or purpose is going to fit in to that modality of well-being. For some people, well-being just looks differently, right? And that's why non-comparing and non-competition and non-judgment is so important when it comes to yoking the inner aspect and having faith in your ability to discern what's right for you or what's good for you or what's going to help your own evolution, and what might be holding you back or what might be just something to work with. And I have that in my own life and my own experience as far as working with things that might be perceived in another way, and yet honoring the intuition and honoring my own innate desires as the unique individuated aspect of consciousness, pioneering a new way of being, right? And so that lifts the lid on a lot of things in our culture, society, depending on where you live, are deemed wrong or bad. And yet if you go to different parts of the world, they'll be respected, loved, and appreciated as a way of being. And so we really are merging cultures and merging the areas of our existence that were once divided. We're wanting to merge, with those in really the aim or intention to harmonize more of the collective human frequency and shine light where there is darkness and where there is corruption, division, and density. Ultimately, we're all the carriers of the density, and as we transform that density, we enlighten pockets of our collective density, which is where you see a lot of things happening on the political arena and a lot of things happening, things like in the entertainment industry and whatnot that are shining light into our collective density. And that means lifting the lid and looking at ways that we're not honoring our humanity as one, where we're still trying to power over or exude our control through fear rather than growing in true love and power. So a loving power rather than a divisive power. And to do that, we really are wanting to transform the density from within so that we can really be beacons and shine light for one another. I hope that was useful to you. I'm wishing you lots of healing and well-being on your journey, and having faith in your connection to Source to really bring you through into that feeling of self-responsibility and light-filled, embodied empowerment. I love you guys loads. Have an awesome day, and I'll speak to you really soon. Peace out.